Welcome to Halal Things Considered. I am your host, Adam Soltani, and we are back for our third long-awaited episode. I know it's been a while, and everyone's been waiting patiently. What do you mean, who's been waiting? Everyone has been waiting. All the 67 people that watched the last episode. Hopefully we'll get more for this one. So what I need you to do is send this to your friends and your families, and let's turn this 67 into 600. You know what I mean. Let's roll. No, really, what has been going on? It seems like after more than 2 years of a global pandemic, people are ready to hit the road, hop on the plane, get the heck out of Dodge, out of Guyman, the Panhandle, or wherever you live. Speaking of the Panhandle, have you been there? I haven't. I don't really know a reason to. In fact, it's the furthest away you have to drive from any part of Oklahoma and still be in Oklahoma. It's crazy. It takes almost 5 hours from Oklahoma City to get there. In fact, at one point, it wasn't even part of Oklahoma. It belonged to Texas. But Texas gave it up because of an issue with regards to slavery and the Missouri Compromise. And that created the southern border. And then Kansas created the northern border. And we ended up with this strip of land that at one point was called no man's land. And I understand why, because no man would want to live there. Finally, though, in the late 1800s, this orphan piece of land was considered to be part of Oklahoma territory. And when Oklahoma became a state, it became part of the state of Oklahoma. So to those living out in the Panhandle, we salute you for your dedication to living in no man's land. In June, we had the Oklahoma primary elections, and there was really not a whole lot of surprises when it came to the results.
Voters will see a lot on their ballot. It's a primary, so the ballot is very crowded, especially for Republican voters. Tonight, we're taking a look at the biggest races.
So in the June primary, we saw that Governor Kevin Stitt, the incumbent who is running for re-election, won the Republican primary. And of course, his major opponent, Joy Hoffmeister, who served as the state superintendent of public education. What a title, right? She switched parties from being a Republican to being a Democrat. So we really don't know what her stance is on some political issues, but she won the Democratic primary. So let's be prepared for quite the showdown when it comes to November. But hey, either way, we're getting a Republican governor at the end of the day. On the U.S. Senate side of things, we got the incumbent, James Lankford, who's arguably the whitest U.S. senator in Oklahoma history. In fact, he is so pale that he's paler than a goat getting ready to be slaughtered on Eid al-Adha. Easily defeated his opponents in the Republican primary. And on the Democratic side of things, we have Madison Horn, no relation to former U.S. Congresswoman Kendra Horn, who will face a runoff against some guy named Jason. Also, earlier this year, U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe announced that he was retiring after 27 years in the U.S. Senate. Yes, that Senator Inhofe, who thought it was a good idea to bring a snowball to the U.S. House of Representatives floor to try to prove that climate change is not a thing.
I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball, and that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
After Senator Inhofe announced he would vacate his U.S. Senate seat, a lot of Republicans decided to throw their hat in the ring and run for that position. In fact, the top two contenders that came out of the primary are T.W. Shannon and Markwayne Mullin. Yes, the same Markwayne Mullin as in Mullin Plumbing, and the same man that was seen on the news saying he went to Afghanistan just like Rambo to free Americans.
The State Department had issued a warning saying that Americans should not be traveling over there. House leadership from both parties, Speaker Pelosi and Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, had both said that members should not be traveling. Why did you decide to go anyway?
Because I knew we could be an asset. How do you say no?
The runoff for the seat will take place on August 23rd, and the winner of the Republican runoff will face Kendra Horn in the November elections. And last but not least, we have the Oklahoma District Attorney for District 7. We have been watching this closely. Why have we been watching this closely? Because former House member and County Commissioner Kevin I'll set myself on fire Calvi is running for this position.
If I were not a Christian and didn't have a prohibition against suicide, I'd walk across the street, douse myself in gasoline, and set myself on fire!
Calvi will face a runoff against Galen Geiger on August 23rd. And in recent entertainment news, as long as you haven't been living under a rock for the last few months, you will know that Ms. Marvel, the first superhero film to feature a lead actor as a Muslim character, has been released on Disney+. It has been widely accepted as positive representation for Muslims in the media. In fact, one person said in an article that Ms. Marvel treats being Muslim as ordinary, and that is what makes it extraordinary. And because I'm a big nerd, I pay attention to a lot of the details when it comes to Muslim representation in Hollywood. I know it's improved vastly over the years. In fact, in NCIS Los Angeles, the show with LL Cool J, of course, there is a NCIS agent named Fatima that portrays what it's like to be a Muslim in the field of law enforcement while struggling to maintain your faith. Even though that is the case, more positive representation is needed by people who actually live the life of what it's like to be a Muslim in the West. And in local news, Muslims across the state of Oklahoma and the globe celebrated Eid al-Adha, also known as the Festival of the Sacrifice. This festival commemorates the prophet Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Ishmael in honor of God's commands. Of course, Ishmael was replaced with an animal, and for that reason, Muslims sacrifice animals. Therefore, Mary, watch out, because your little lamb may be up next. On the Eid holiday, Muslims gather in Islamic centers and mosques across the state for communal prayers. They visit family and friends, and they give gifts to one another. This is truly one of the most joyous occasions for Muslims in Oklahoma. So if you didn't get a chance to, make sure on the next Eid holiday to wish your Muslim friends, colleagues, and neighbors Eid Mubarak or Happy Eid. And coming up on August 13th, the local Pakistani community and the Upna organization is sponsoring a Pakistan Independence Day celebration at Scissortail Park from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. This is an amazing opportunity, whether you're Pakistani or not. And Lord knows I've eaten enough biryani to be considered an honorary member of the Pakistani nation. You should still join this community and celebrate Pakistan Independence Day, the day that commemorates Pakistan's independence from British rule. Qazi, that's it, man. Speaking of biryani, I am hungry. You know, one time we ate some Sindhi biryani at the mosque, and it was so spicy that my Moroccan friend went and lay down in the corner and didn't move for like an hour. And we went over to him, we're like, dude, what's going on? He's like, man, please call an ambulance. I think I'm dying. So I quit eating Sindhi biryani after that. I only stick to Bombay biryani because honestly, it's the best. And please include the aloo. You have to have the aloo with it. This has been Halal Things Considered. I'm your host, Adam Soltani. See you next time. All right. Boom, baby. Side note, if anyone from Disney Plus is watching this, I'll accept an offer for acting in any show. In fact, you don't have to pay me much. I get paid nothing for doing this show right now.